Hello, and welcome to another episode of Jiu Jitsu for Dummies. Today's episode, we're going to be learning two things. One is a modified guard position that might be helpful whenever your legs are kind of short or the person you're rolling against is kind of a big person, preventing you from getting your legs around them fully. And then the submission we're going to be learning is what we call an inverted armbar. It's a very simple move, so let's check it out. I'm going to show it from a couple of different angles. Okay, let's break it down. As any of you know who have been following my series, the guard is really the use of your legs in relation to your opponent. Lots of times I've been showing moves. We call it a closed guard position. That's when your opponent is between your legs and your feet are kind of locked behind them. But what do you do when you either have short legs or the person that you're rolling with is a really big person? I mean, I've rolled with people, there's just no way my legs were going to get around them. So this is kind of a modified guard position that we're going to be learning, and it goes something like this. Sally here, my Jiu Jitsu dummy, that's going to be on her knees. I'm going to be what we call the guard, the beach position. Just kind of hanging out like I'm at the beach. This leg is bent. This leg is on the ground. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scoot closer to my partner here. And this hand, the same size as my raised leg, is going to reach underneath her underarm. This side, where I have the bent leg, I'm going to be reaching over her arm. We call that a whizzer or an overhook. So this side is underhooking, this side is overhooking. Now what's going to happen is this leg is going to hook behind her back as high as I can make it. This leg, this foot is going to be resting on her hip, but my foot's also kind of wedging her hip to the floor, or her leg to the floor. So looks like this. Underhook, overhook, lean back. This leg as high as you can make it. this leg on the side of her, also kind of wedging her to the floor and pressing in. Now my knees are pressing in as tightly as we can. I might not be closing my legs like in a normal guard position, but that doesn't mean that my knees aren't, you know, pinching her together as much as I can. So this side, where I'm overhooking the arm. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab her head and push away as far as I can. At the same time, this arm, which is trapped on the side of my neck, is now going to be pressing behind her elbow and pressing opposite the direction that nature intended. So again, overhooking, grabbing, and shucking at the same time as I'm grabbing the elbow and trapping her arm and hyperextending it. Seen from another angle. I'll start from the beginning here. Again, sitting here in a beach position, I'm going to be getting close to her, underhooking and overhooking. When I lean back, this leg goes as high as it can on her back. This leg and foot trap her hip and press in just as tight as we can. So, grab her head and shuck her head. You'll see her arm is trapped. Her wrist is near my neck. Her elbow would be about here, and so I'm pressing this way. Again. Beach position. Go underneath, underhook, overhook. Trap the back, trap the hip, grab the head, and shuck. Extend the arm. The last angle. Again, you're just like enjoying yourself, kind of like you're at the day at the beach. Come in, underhook, overhook, lean back, trap, trap, grab here, push away, and extend the arm. Now, it's pretty simple, but there's a couple of basic mistakes that people could make. The first would be not to pinch them as secure as you can with your knees and your feet. Now, as I was mentioning, most of the time when we're securing someone in a closed guard, we have our feet behind them. Our feet are crossed, our ankles are crossed, and that's really keeping them kind of encircled in our legs. This kind of guard is, you know, it's a modified guard. So like I said, if you have really short legs or if they're really a big person, you still can control them, but you have your foot on the back, on their back as high as you can make it. And the other foot is on their hip, kind of wedged into the floor, just to kind of keep them in one place. So having your legs too floppy, you know, not holding on to them as securely as you can would be one mistake. The other one would be not to push their head as far as you can away. Now, this serves two purposes. When you push their head away, it fully extends their arm. It's easier to armbar someone when their arm is fully extended. Because if you've never done an armbar before, what you're doing is you're taking this joint and you're actually pushing it opposite the direction that nature intended. Also, if their arm is bent, then they could probably, bend it, wiggle it, escape, that kind of thing. When their arm is, fully extended, you get to the tap quicker, also harder for them to escape. And the last would be not pressing on the right part of the arm. Now, Sally here, it's really kind of hard to tell where her elbow is. Certainly on a human, really easy to see, especially if they were just wearing like a t-shirt or a rash guard, not a gi. But even wearing a gi, you can kind of usually see where the elbow is. Now, it's not bad if you, press on their arm slightly above the elbow. The best, of course, would be at the elbow, but slightly above the elbow is not bad. But what you wouldn't want to do is press below the elbow, because guess what? They could easily escape their arm. So they've escaped and you didn't armbar them. Those would be some common mistakes. So let's check it out again. Again, you got your dummy hanging out, what we call the beach position, because you look all casual and everything. I'm scooting in, underhooking, overhooking, leaning back. My one leg is high on their back. My other foot is on their hip, kind of wedging it to the floor. This hand that's overhooking grabs the head, shucks it away. At the same time, I secure their arm right behind the elbow with their wrist against the side of my neck. I'm pressing just about this time. This is where they should be tapping, and the closer they are to tapping, the slower you should go. It kind of gives them a little bit of time to think about the mistakes they've made in their life, and maybe this would be a good time to tap. See from another angle. Again, Sally here, kind of on her knees. I'm in the beach position. This hand, I go forward and I underhook. This hand, I overhook. I'm leaning back. This foot goes high. This foot goes low. Both of my knees really pinching in. This hand grabs and shucks. Again, this hand grabs and shucks. And that is the inverted armbar with a modified guard. Now the good thing about this is that once you learn one armbar, it makes it a lot easier to learn other armbars. Kind of the idea of pressing on the elbow and trapping the wrist and that kind of thing. This kind of guard that we learned, you're gonna learn that in lots of other, use that in other positions and submissions, entries we'll call them. So, remember that, and we'll review it in a future episode. And thank you for joining me for another episode of Jiu Jitsu for Dummies. I have a Facebook page, Natalie Jiu Jitsu. Reach out to me there. Suggest a move. And thank you again for joining me.